And I told myself that I needed to finish these projects before I go to the thrift store again, and I'm really itching to go to the thrift store. So maybe when I finish these, I can finally go. I got this book in the mail today, and I'm really excited to read through it. When is the last time you finished a lip product? Hi, so I wasn't gonna film today, but I got my hair done yesterday, and I just thought I shouldn't waste a good hair day. I should just go ahead and film a little bit of something, even if it's just the intro for this video. But I'm hoping that it's not just the intro and that I sew a little bit of something today, because I actually haven't sewn anything in a little bit, and I really just want to get my hands moving and get into it. So I was trying to come up with a theme for today's video, and I realized that I have thrifted these 3 brown t-shirts, and I need to do something with them before thrifting anything else. So I guess the theme is thrift flipping brown t-shirts. I don't know if they're gonna make like a cohesive outfit at the end, but they will all be from brown fabric, I guess. I have some ideas of what I want to do with these t-shirts. So let me introduce these projects from potentially like the easiest to the hardest. So the first project involves this shirt, and actually a local business screen printed their logo onto this shirt. So I think when I edit this, I'll censor this logo out just for my own privacy. But this shirt was so soft. It's a Craft and Borrow shirt in this beautiful like chocolatey color. I don't know if you watched my Christmas gift guide video, but in that video I talked about how I wanted a chocolate brown headband. So I just thought this would be a perfect shirt to turn into a headband. And I probably will have some extra leftover fabric from this as well to do maybe something else with. But yeah, since it's already had a logo on it, I was able to thrift this for pretty cheap. I think it was around $2. And I just knew the fabric was like high quality, like super soft fabric. So I really wasn't mad about the logo being on there or anything. So yeah, I'm really excited to make a little headband, especially since I got these like shorter bang pieces cut into my hair. I feel like I might actually need a headband to like work out. So this is a great excuse to expedite that project. And then the other shirt is also a Craft and Barrow shirt. Is it Craft and Borrow or Craft and Barrow? I feel like Craft and Barrow is probably how you pronounce it, but for some reason that feels like a tongue twister to say. But anyway, this is a shirt that I actually thrifted a while ago, and I tried to style it just as is, but you can definitely see the neck is super floppy. Even when I press this out really nice, it is just too stretched out and worn out. So it just ends up making the look feel a little bit messy for my taste. So I was thinking of taking off this turtleneck and turning this shirt into more of like a scoop neck shirt, because I think I'll get a lot of wear out of it. So this will be pretty simple to do, but I think it's totally worth it because the shirt still has a lot more life in it despite the floppy neck. So I'm really excited to do that. Additionally, when this was at the thrift store tag kind of pierced the neck. So there's a little bit of a hole here, and I think that will be covered up if I cut this into a scoop neck. So that'll be totally fine. But yeah, it's kind of sad to see when the thrift store accidentally makes those holes with the like staplers they use for their tags. But I understand they're probably sorting through so much merchandise that they're just trying to go fast. Luckily, this one should be pretty easy to save. And last but not least, I thrifted this Ralph Lauren shirt really just for the fabric, because it's got this beautiful drape. It's 100% cotton, but the fabric is like sort of this, I guess, like rib texture, and it just feels so beautiful. And I really want to turn this into a baby doll tank that I can layer like button up t-shirts over. Because I have a short torso, it's kind of hard for me to find like tank tops or camis that fit me right here in like the strap area. They're always too long. So I just want to make my own baby doll tank that fits me well. And I think this fabric will be perfect for that because it's so drapey and flowy, and it has a really good weight to it. But yeah, I don't know if you have been looking at the tariff situation when it comes to buying fabric, but for me, I'm finding it's much cheaper to just thrift certain pieces of clothing that I can use the fabric from. And it's kind of nice because I'm upcycling something. Our thrift stores can only handle so many textiles, so it's nice to give something used a new life. Maybe it does take a little bit longer to thrift something with the exact type of fabric that you want, but I really enjoy thrifting, so to me it's worth it. But yeah, I am really excited to work on these projects because actually I thrifted all these a while ago, and I told myself that I needed to finish these projects before I go to the thrift store again, and I'm really itching to go to the thrift store. So maybe when I finish these, I can finally go. But yeah, we're gonna start with the first project first, which is the headband. And before I cut this up for the headband, I think I want to try try to see if I can remove the screen print with the iron. I saw someone do that on Instagram, I believe. So apparently if you turn the iron to high, you can just remove the screen print. And I want to see how that works. I have low hopes, but even if it doesn't work, I know I'll have plenty of fabric to use for the headband. So yeah, let me go ahead and turn my iron on and try that out. Okay, so I feel like that kind of worked a little bit, but not enough for me to continue with this. The plastisol or whatever kind of ink they use was kind of starting to melt, and I used my tweezers to kind of scrape it off. And also you can see there's a little bit of a hole in the middle where I really tried to kind of yank the ink off of the shirt. But to be honest, the effort that it took to just get that amount of ink off was not worth it. And also I kind of started to smell the fumes from like that plastic dissolving, so I just don't think that's a great idea. So I'm just gonna stop now. And actually my real plan for the headband was to use the backside of the fabric anyway. So I'm just gonna stop and do that. This fabric is just so soft, so I just wanna use as much of it as I can. Obviously the bottom part of the hem is not printed, so I could just use that for the headband. But I was thinking maybe I could even make like a bralette with that bottom hem. So to me, it's worth it to just use the back side of that print to create the headband because it's the same texture and color anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But yeah, if you have any ways that you have used to remove a screen print from a shirt, let me know your tips and tricks because I really would like to save more thrift items from landfill if I can. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and look up some dimensions that I can use for the headband and get those pieces cut out. Okay, it's been a couple days, so I have no idea what I was talking about in the last clip, but I think I left off the last time I was working on these projects with removing the collar from this shirt. And here's the collar here. It's actually kind of funny because this looks almost exactly like the headband that I'm going for, but I already cut out the headband fabric, so I don't want to just like abandon ship on that project. And I also didn't remove all the little threads, but maybe I will go ahead and remove all the little threads and I'll just have 2 headbands at the end of this project. And then going back to this long sleeve shirt, like I said, I removed the collar and now I'm marking how I want the scoop neck to look. And I used another t-shirt to kind of reference how I want this shape to look. And originally I was planning to use some of the leftover fabric from this t-shirt to finish off the neck here. But actually, now I'm thinking it'd be fun to have like a pop of color. And I happen to have some red knit fabric. It looks like it's coming off orange on the camera, but this is like a bright red. And I don't really have any plans for this leftover red knit fabric. So I thought it'd be great to use up part of my stash to just kind of have a pop of color contrast here. So I think I'm gonna cut this into like a binding kind of situation and then attach it to the neckline to finish that raw edge. But yeah, I don't have a lot of time to work today, but I really want to go ahead and cut out that fabric so that I can finally get into sewing. So yeah, let's get into it. Oh my gosh, I almost forgot to mention, I got this book in the mail today and I'm really excited to read through it. It is plus size pattern making for women's wear, and I did flip through it a little bit already and it just looks so thorough and really exciting. There are not a lot of resources out there for plus size pattern making, so I'm really excited to learn a lot from this book. And yeah, I'm thinking of doing like a review for this book when I have more than just my first impressions. So let me know if you would be interested in that kind of content. Okay, this is kind of a funny angle, but I am back in my studio working today. So I think I had already said yesterday that I didn't have a lot of time to work, so I predictably didn't get a lot done. So what I got done was just cutting out this red knit to use as a binding. And honestly, it's kind of my fault that I didn't get a lot done because yesterday I first started to cut out the binding as if it was a bias tape, but then I realized it's knit, so I can just cut a strip of fabric and it'll just work. So that's what I did. And now I am sitting here just basting this binding into place. This is kind of unnecessary. I could just take it straight to the machine and hope for the best, but I kind of want to take the time to just baste this in place before taking it to the machine because it'll make things a lot easier. And also having pins in the way is kind of annoying when it comes to like any kind of cover stitch setting. So I want to take the time to make this just right. And the last time that I did something like this was for the video that I made for the iconic white t-shirt from the bear. And I do remember that my stitches were a little bit wavy. So I want to see if hand basting it in place first will kind of make things easier and hopefully make the stitches more precise. Yeah, I'm just gonna do that real quick and then I can cover stitch this down and then this project will be done. And then I know the headband will be simple to complete after this. And then all that's left is that brown baby doll top. Okay, I haven't been filming this week, but I have been making progress, and so I want to just give you a little update on the brown baby doll tank. So I started with my first knit muslin, and I draped it on the dress form and then tried it on. So this mannequin is not to my measurements. So you'll notice that the shape is pretty perfect to the mannequin for this first one, and it's because I started by draping. So when I tried this muslin on, I noticed that I needed to drop the shoulders by an inch and drop the armhole by an inch. And that's pretty common between me and this mannequin. So I should have seen that coming and just made that adjustment in the pattern before I sewed it up, but that's okay. And then lastly, I needed to drop the center back by about an inch because it was kind of riding up on me. So I made those changes and then I did a second muslin. And here's the second muslin on the dress form. I hope you understand why I'm not gonna try these on for the camera, but I hope talking through the adjustments that I made is helpful. It's just part of the process. So for the second muslin, I noticed I needed to drop the center front by about an inch. And then I also wanted to bring the seam down just a tad. And I think those are the main changes for this second one. And typically when I have a muslin that has such small changes, I don't make a third muslin to just make sure those changes are correct. But this time I was like, let me just go ahead and make sure I'm comfortable with where the center front came down. So I actually did make a third muslin. Okay, so here is that third muslin. It's sitting kind of funny on the form for some reason, but it did look better on me. So then after I tried on this third muslin, I was happy with my pattern. So I finalized it and digitized it and printed a new copy out because as I was going through the muslins, it was just easier for me to like add paper and cut things from the pattern. So those patterns were looking a little bit crumpled and harder to work with because of that. So I went ahead and have a clean copy done here. And I was laying my pattern across the body of the shirt here. And it is looking a little bit tight, unfortunately, on the amount of fabric that I have. So I think what I want to do is I want to seam rip the sides of this shirt open just so I utilize as much fabric as possible. So I'm gonna go ahead and start my day doing that. But the other thing that I wanted to talk about real quick is I wasn't sure how I was going to finish the neckline and the armhole. When I originally came up with this idea, I thought that I would reuse the rib binding of the neckband for this original shirt, but I just feel like that's giving more of a sporty vibe, which is not what I'm going for this particular project. So I was thinking through my options with the amount of fabric that I have available left in this shirt. And when I was just imagining this shirt, I thought that I would double line the top portion. And the reality is there is not enough fabric from this shirt to double line. So I was just trying to think through what I could do. Maybe I could do a facing, and I think a facing would work fine. but I actually decided that I am going to be using a brown fabric that I already have from Blackbird Fabrics to double line the top portion and finish it that way, because I think I'll be happier with the end result of that. Originally, I did want to challenge myself to only use the fabric that is in this shirt, but I think if the challenge guidelines are stopping me from actually getting good use out of what I make, then I don't think that's worth it. So I am gonna go ahead and use the fabric that I have from Blackbird Fabrics. I did consider using the leftover fabric from my other brown t-shirt, the one I used for the headband, and that would have worked. Actually, there was enough fabric there, but the fabric from the brown t-shirt is actually thicker than the fabric that I have from this shirt. So I just think that would feel a little off, like it would be a little bit more bulky than what I'm imagining. It's almost like, I would say like double the thickness. So I don't know if that speaks to the thickness of the t-shirt or the thinness of this fabric, but the fabric from Blackbird Fabrics that I have is more similar in weight to this. So I think it'll work better again for that reason too. But yeah, I spent a lot of time contemplating all my different options, and I think that's gonna work best for this project. So I hope you'll understand why I'm doing it that way, and I hope you won't think that it's not a thrift flip if I use fabric that I have bought instead of thrifting all my fabric. I was also briefly considering completely changing my design so that I would have enough fabric to double line from this shirt, but I am coming up on my video deadline, so I don't want to start from scratch, and I really do like the design that I came up with. So yeah, I hope you'll be understanding about there being a little bit of new fabric. In other news, I really wanted to talk about this lip stain real quick. I have been wearing this Kofi lip stain in like, I would say a majority of my videos. And I love this lip stain a lot. I love the color. I also wear it not when I'm filming. It lives in my bag and it's not messy. But the reason why I'm talking about this lip stain is I am almost finished with it and it feels so good. The dopamine that I feel from finishing a product is so crazy, especially a lip product. Like, when is the last time you finished a lip product? So yeah, I'm really excited that I almost have completely finished this, and I probably will be repurchasing this exact color because I'm a creature of habit and I really like this color. But I just wanted to share that I am on kind of like a project pan journey of just finishing up my products, and this feels like such a win. Anyway, I am really excited to get into this project. So like I said, I'll be seam ripping the sides of this shirt and then cutting out my fabric and then sewing it up. And hopefully that won't take too long because I need to edit this video. Okay, I have finished seam ripping the side seams, and so it kind of looks a little bit funny right now because I didn't seam rip the arms and I also didn't seam rip all the way down to the hem, and that's because I don't really need to do that. I think I can get by with just seam ripping part of the side seam because all I really need to do is fold this along the center front and cut out my pattern pieces. So I'm just kind of like laying this out nicely. It doesn't need to be perfect on the bottom because I'm not going to be cutting there. Okay, so that's laid out nicely and flattened out. Then I'll take my front pattern piece and kind of lay that, utilizing as much fabric as I can. So it'll lay like somewhere here, and then I'll cut that out. But first I want to pin it down and everything. But yeah, this is nice to see that this is laying actually way better than it was before, and I can utilize the fabric better. So let me pin everything nicely and then I'll come back and start cutting the fabric. Okay, so as I was cutting out this back piece, I didn't realize that it was going to be a little bit short here actually, which is kind of a bummer, but I knew I could get a little bit more fabric from my shirt. So I went ahead and seam ripped this cuff off, and I'm going to attach it and then kind of recut out that shape so that it is correct. Honestly, this is avoidable. I should have double checked that I had enough fabric, but clearly I don't, but it'll be okay, I'll fix it. But yeah, it's a little bit of a bummer, a little bit of a setback, but I think once we get this done, the rest of the tank should come out pretty quickly. So yeah, let me go ahead and sew this onto this and then cut that out. Okay, so I have the shell and the lining sewn just at the shoulder seams. And then next I'm gonna sew around the neckline, and I'll be using the burrito method to finish the armhole and the rest of the top section of this tank. And I'm really excited actually because I've never used the burrito method before, but it seems a lot less complicated than what I used to do, which is struggle. So I am excited to make this quick and easy. And then I'll just attach the bottom section and I'll be done. If you've never heard of the burrito method, it's just a way to sew an enclosed seam so that it's easy to flip right side out. There are a ton of tutorials on the method, so definitely look it up for a full tutorial. But basically, you just roll the garment to the seam that you want to sew, pin and sew the right sides of that seam together so that they go over your burrito. And then when you sew it up, you can easily flip it right side out. Okay, so I just finished the top section and here's how it's looking. And then I just cut the rest of the hem of the shirt and I'm going to attach it to the bottom. It shouldn't be too hard. It's just that I have to make sure I catch both the lining and the shell when I do this. And the lining is kind of curling up, so that part might be a little bit tough, but I think I can do it. So yeah, this is the last seam and then I'm done with this top. Okay, I've been working really fast to try to make my video deadline, but basically what happened after I finished up my Babydoll tank the first time is it ended up really boxy. Unfortunately, I didn't get a video of what it looked like right after the fact, but basically the side seam of that tank was just straight up and down, so it was really just giving like a rectangle. So what I ended up doing to kind of save the tank is I shaved off the side seam from the top bodice area, and then I tapered in the bottom section so that it kind of made like an angle, and that gave the tank such a better shape. Also, since I ended up taking in the side seam, that means that the patchwork on the back bodice that I was doing ended up getting cut away. So it ended up looking really nice and clean, so I'm not mad about that. I also don't think I filmed me understitching the lining here, but I did go ahead and do that, and that makes everything sit really neatly. So yeah, I'm really happy with that. Originally, when I was kind of designing this idea in my head, I wanted that bottom hem section to be way more gathered, but there just wasn't enough fabric in that top to do that. So I think I did okay with my design with the amount of fabric that I had. One more thing about the Babydoll tank is in the original design, I wanted to kind of have like an angled seam at the place where this gathered fabric meets the bodice. And that just wasn't going to be realistic for the amount of fabric that I had left over. It would have involved me having to undo the hem of the shirt to straighten the hem out at the end. So I ended up just straightening out that bodice line so it wasn't angled anymore. And I still like it that way. The good thing about this design is it doesn't have to be super interesting on its own because I'm planning to style it layered anyway. So I think even though this didn't come out exactly how I was envisioning it, I think I'm gonna get a lot of wear out of this piece. The long sleeve shirt and the headband, I have to give a 10 out of 10. I even already started wearing this headband out. And as an update to the basting on this neckband on if that helped me align it a little bit better, I think it did. It is still not perfect, but I think that it is pretty good. And even the slight imperfections are not going to stop me from wearing this piece. I am really glad that I decided to convert this to a regular neckline and not a turtleneck, since that turtleneck was so worn out. And speaking of that turtleneck being so worn out, I was trying to make this into a headband and I might still finish it, but it is like super wavy. Like it's even more worn out than I originally thought it was. So it just looks really like not great, honestly. I think that when it's on my head, maybe it would be fine. I don't know, maybe I still will finish it because I do have like this much done. I just need to close it up and then it would be done. But this headband I'm really happy about. I don't know if you can tell, but I even kind of made the seams a little bit angled so it fits on my head really nicely. And I'm someone who is pretty picky when it comes to like wearing accessories in my hair. So the fact that I've already worn this out really says something. And yeah, I'm really happy that I made this. I know this is such a simple project, but I really think I'm gonna get a lot of wear out of this. And overall, I'm really happy with everything that I made. I genuinely believe that I'm gonna get so much wear out of all 3 of these pieces. So I think it's so worth it. I hope you enjoyed this video and I'm really excited about the project that I have coming up next. So I hope I will see you in the next one. Bye.